We're heading to the Fulton County Courthouse in Johnstown, New York, about 50 miles northwest of Albany. We're going to tell the story of Tommy, and Bowie, and Bruno, and Allie, and Nim, and Hercules, and Leo, and countless other primates who were taken from the wild to serve us, whether in research labs, in circuses, or in zoos. Victor Hugo once said, "There is nothing more powerful than an idea whose time has come." That's what brings us here. We are here because in this building, the fight for animal rights took a unique turn when a chimpanzee named Tommy petitioned a human court for his freedom. Tommy lived in a shed behind this storefront on the Route 30 in Gloversville, New York. In a cage 24 hours a day, his only companion was a TV playing cartoons. The only resemblance to his natural habitat, a concrete wall painted like a jungle. This was no place for a social, intelligent animal like a chimpanzee to live. Stephen Wise, founder of the Non-Human Rights Project, filed suit at the New York Supreme Court for a writ of habeas corpus. Tommy was arguing he was being wrongfully imprisoned. He was stuck here because he had no legal standing. The system viewed him as a thing devoid of rights. Chimpanzees are highly social and intelligent animals, so imprisoning them and using them for entertainment or experimentation is moral in every sense of the word. Although it was known that chimps were intelligent animals, it was not until the 1960s that we knew the extent of that intelligence. Since then, evidence has been mounting that apes are not so different from our own species. The first serious attempt to examine ape intelligence occurred in 1960, when Jane Goodall traveled to Tanzania to document wild chimps. Her work revealed 5 key things about chimpanzees. First, she observed chimps stripping down sticks and using them to fish termites from a mound. Previously, the prevailing view was that tool creation and usage was solely a human trait. The scientific community had also believed that chimpanzees, unlike humans, were herbivores. Yet, as early as 1960, Goodall saw chimps hunting and eating small mammals. Her third finding is rather disturbing. Chimps fight and go to war with rival chimp communities and kill one another. This shows that chimpanzees make and execute plans as a group to gain control over limited resources. Humans follow the same thought process when we go to war. Goodall's fourth discovery showed that chimps also have a compassionate side. Orphaned infants are often adopted by other group members and raised as their own. Finally, Goodall found that, like human families, mother chimps have a strong bond with their children. It takes many years to fully raise a chimpanzee child, much like a human. While Goodall pursued her research in Africa, another group in the United States worked with cross-fostering. Cross-fostering is the act of raising one species as another, in this case, raising chimps as humans. These chimps did not know they were any different from their human parents and siblings, as they had never seen nor interacted with other chimpanzees. Psychologists Alan and Beatrix Gardner, along with their graduate student Roger Fouts, actually taught a chimp named Washoe how to communicate with American Sign Language. Fouts would go on to teach ASL to several other chimpanzees, including Allie, Bruno, Bowie, and Lucy. In a remarkable development, Washoe herself taught ASL to her son, a chimp named Lulus. All the cross-fostered chimps showed a strong ability to comprehend spoken English. Other scientists were working with different apes, and every one of them revealed a high level of intelligence. Kanzi, a bonobo, has mastered advanced human skills like building campfires and cooking food, while a Japanese chimp named Ayumu consistently outperforms his human counterparts on short-term memory tests. In a truly profound story, a signing gorilla named Michael told the story of the day he was captured and his mother was killed by poachers. In light of all this, is it possible to say that apes are dumb animals? Various apes, and chimpanzees in particular, have previously been used in abusive research, ranging from cosmetics to disease prevention and vaccine development. In 1982, many signing chimps, such as Ali, Nim, Bowie, and Bruno, were sent into research at LEMSIP, the biomedical research facility at NYU. There, they were infected with hepatitis and subjected to repeated medical procedures. When the public heard that Ali and Nim, two chimps that had enjoyed a level of celebrity, were in a research facility, there was a massive backlash. Due to public criticism, Ali and Nim were released. Unfortunately, Ali was secretly sent to another lab that turned out to be far worse. Nim was released to a private facility where he was not experimented upon, but where he spent many years in isolation and died prematurely. Bowie and Bruno, signing chimps but not as well known, remained at LEMSIP. After more than a decade, ABC News reunited Roger Fouts and his former student Bowie, who was still living in a cage at LEMSIP. Bowie immediately recognized his teacher and friend, and they began signing to each other. Bowie kept pleading with Roger to let him out. Once again, there was a public outcry, which resulted in Bowie being retired from research. Unfortunately, Bruno had died years earlier. Until very recently, animal rights activists chipped away at the system that kept primates in captivity with daring and sometimes illegal acts, such as storming labs and opening cages. Alternately, they relied on public pressure, like in the case of more famous chimps. In a novel approach to animal activism, the Non-Human Rights Project brought a series of lawsuits before courts revolving around chimps' personhood. In order to understand these cases, we must first understand the legal concepts behind them. Animals are seen as legal things by the judicial system. This means they have no rights and are invisible to judges. Legal persons, however, are visible to judges and have the capacity for infinite rights. Tommy, along with the other chimps, was a thing. The writ of habeas corpus, also known as the Great Writ, is another important term in these legal battles. According to Ballantine Law Dictionary, a writ of habeas corpus is a common law writ in which one restrained of liberty is brought before a court for judicial inquiry as to the lawfulness of his restraint. In essence, Tommy was petitioning the court to free him from illegal imprisonment. The real question here is that of Tommy's personhood. Is he a person, or is he a thing? It's important to remember that the terms human and person are not synonymous. A river in New Zealand and the holy books of the Sikh religion are legal persons. Why shouldn't Tommy, an autonomous being, be a person as well? That's what the Non-Human Rights Project asked the judge in this very courthouse. The Non-Human Rights Project decided to pursue a case in New York where state law places no limit on habeas petitions. For a test case, they identified two chimps named Merlin and Reba, who lived in a roadside zoo in Catskill. Both, unfortunately, died before their case was brought to court. Then there was Tommy. His case would challenge the very notion of what it is to be a person. Based on Tommy's self-awareness and autonomy, Stephen Wise and the Non-Human Rights Project argued that he had the right to bodily liberty and petitioned the court for his immediate transfer to an appropriate sanctuary. The first judge, Joseph Seiss, not wanting to be the first to grant legal personhood to an animal, denied the writ of habeas corpus but said, "I'm sorry I can't sign the order, but I hope you continue. As an animal lover, I appreciate your work." The Non-Human Rights Project immediately appealed the decision to the 3rd Judicial Department in Albany, where the appeal was heard by 5 judges. This court also denied the writ based on the ideas that chimpanzees cannot be persons because rights must be balanced with responsibilities, and a chimp cannot be held accountable for its actions. Because habeas corpus addresses such a fundamental right, the law places no limit on the number of claims that can be made. On this basis, the Non-Human Rights Project filed for a new writ in New York City. This writ was also denied, as was its appeal. In doing so, the First Judicial Department passed the case to the Court of Appeals, the highest court in New York. On May 8, 2018, the Court of Appeals denied the writ. Judge Eugene Fahey said, "Although I concur in the court's decision to deny leave to appeal now, I continue to question whether the court was right to deny leave in the first instance. The issue whether a non-human animal has a fundamental right to liberty protected by the writ of habeas corpus is profound and far-reaching. It speaks to our relationship with all the life around us. Ultimately, we will not be able to ignore it. While it may be arguable that a chimpanzee is not a person, there is no doubt that it is not merely a thing." In a parallel case involving Hercules and Leo, two chimps in a research facility at Stony Brook University, the Non-Human Rights Project filed a similar writ of habeas corpus, which also reached the New York Court of Appeals. There, Justice Barbara Jaffe ordered the state of New York to show cause for their detention of Hercules and Leo. The judge felt bound by the precedent on Tommy's case to deny the writ, but stated that efforts to extend legal rights to chimpanzees are understandable. Someday, they may even succeed. Courts, however, are slow to embrace change. In fact, in a very similar case, an orangutan named Sandra, who lived in a bankrupt zoo in Argentina, was freed by a judge on the basis that her imprisonment was an infringement on her personhood. This month, she arrived at an orangutan sanctuary in Florida, where she will live out her days in relative freedom. In one of the most unlikely forms of action, it seems that going to court and arguing that animals are people too may be the thing that finally frees them.
I ain't happy, I'm feeling glad I got sunshine in a bag. I'm useless, but not for long, the future is coming on. I ain't happy, I'm feeling glad I got sunshine in a bag. I'm useless, but not for long, the future is coming on. It's coming on, it's coming on, it's coming on, it's coming on.
Finally, someone let me out of my cage. Now, time for me is nothing cause I'm counting no A's. Nah, I couldn't be there. Nah, you shouldn't be scared. I'm good at repairs and I'm under each snare. Intangible, bet you didn't think, so I command you to. Panoramic view, look, I'll make it all manageable. Pick and choose, sit and lose, all you different crews. Chicks and dudes who you think is really kicking tunes. Picture you getting down in a picture tube, like you lit the fuse. You think it's fictional, mystical, maybe spiritual hero who appears in you to clear your view when you're too crazy. Lifeless to those, the definition for what life is.